So, hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. I hope it's treating you well today. Um, you know, life's hard, isn't it? But I hope everything's okay with all of you. I'm always thinking about all my followers. I wish you all the love and luck and laughter in the world because we need it as we go through this journey of life, don't we? Get up every morning. Sometimes it's Groundhog Day. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes things go right. But the one thing that we do know is we never know, do we? As soon as we open our eyes in the morning, we don't know what the day's going to bring. But at least we've got another day, haven't we? Okay, so what I'm going to talk about in this video are several different cases that we've been covering. I'm going to look at them all. There was quite a few short updates I wanted to do. So what I decided to do was do this video, this live, and then later I will be cutting the video and releasing them individually as individual updates on various cases. So we're going to start off. Well, first of all, just thank you to all my followers. Thank you to my lovely lurkers. Thank you to Replay Crew. Special thank you as always to my members, people who have PayPal'd me, sent super chats, bought Ko-fis, etc. Thank you so much. So much appreciated. All the positive support you give to my channel. So that's the first thing I want to say. And then we're going to get on with it. Hello to lovely lurkers, of course. I think I just said that. Hello to Replay Crew. Hello to anyone who's going to join in the chat. Thank you. Now, who should we start off with? Now, if these are in no particular order, there are just things, that I want to say about different cases, short things that I want to say. I think we'll start off with Jack and Lilly. So Jack and Lilly Sullivan, of course, are the two little mites who disappeared away from their home. I'm going to presume knowledge of the case. I'm just going to talk about the update that I've got or what I want to tell you. It's not an update in the sense that they've been found. Is no doggy come say hello to Riley's really. You've been saying hello a lot lately, haven't you? Now you've got to get down. You've got to get down. Lilly, who's 6, Jack, who's 4, wandered off, apparently, according to the police and according to their family. And of course, a lot of shade has been cast on their mother, Malaya, and their stepfather, Daniel. People think that they had something to do with it, that they know something about what happened to these children. No trace of him has been found, of course. And I just wanted to read out for you an article that I found, which is Malaya talking about, now, they've all passed lie detector tests. So, we just don't know what's happened to these kids. It's possible the parents know or the stepfather knows, but nobody's under suspicion. They've all passed their lie detector tests. No one's been arrested. No one's even been looked at as a suspect. So that's all we know, really, at the moment. But what I wanted to read out for you was this article, which is saying, talking about the post that Malaya, the mum, put on her own social media. Because, it must be absolutely awful, of course, for your kids to go missing. But it's got to be even worse, isn't it, when you are under suspicion, not from the police necessarily, but from the court of public opinion. A lot of people are very down on Malaya, aren't they? Especially because she left the house the following day, the very following day that these kids went missing. Malaya left the property. But there may be lots of reasons for that, so I don't know. So Jack and Lilly disappeared in Nova Scotia in Canada rural property on the morning of May the 2nd, nearly 6 months ago. Long, long time ago. Where are these little kids? Anyway, this is a Facebook page dedicated to the search of the siblings, and this is what she said. Don't forget, there's $150,000 reward for information leading to finding Jack and Lilly. That's a lot of money, isn't it? And no one's come forward. So it makes you think that nobody does know anything. Anyway, Malaya Brooks Murray, the children's mother, has shared multiple messages on a Find Lilly and Jack Sullivan Facebook page amid the ongoing search. I don't think I'm on that Facebook page. I must join it. She wrote on October the 13th, "As a mother, I love my children more than life itself, and I feel so heartbroken not being able to hold my two children, Lilly and Jack, kiss them, breathe in their scent, or tuck them into bed, dress them, wake up to their sweet smiling faces." And they have got very sweet smiling faces. Most children have, I suppose. "The longing I have for them to come back home to me is a greater feeling than I could ever imagine feeling or put into words how I am feeling. There's not one single day, minute, or second that goes by that I am not thinking about my children." So there's Lilly, 6 years old. She insisted she desperately wants her children home safe and sound, back into my arms where I will never let them go, adding that she's truly traumatized, that she hasn't been able to hear the sweet sound of their voices, not being able to breathe in their scent when I embrace them tightly. "I don't want these these moments to be memories. I want my babies home, my Lilly, May and Jackie. The pure pain I suffer of just not knowing where they are has impacted my life and Em and my family," who's Em, "in the most devastating way." There's little Jack, or Jackie as she called him. "Life feels extremely hard to keep going with no answers. It is just pure lostness." So don't forget, she hasn't got her baby Meadow with her either. The baby is in foster care, the other child. So, she's at the moment, she's without all her children, though she has supervised access with Meadow. "Like I can no longer feel at home anymore, no matter how lost I feel. I have not given up hope that my children will be returned home to me safe and sound. I have all the faith and hope I will see them again. I will never stop searching for my children until they are found and brought home safe and sound. Someone somewhere knows something, so please bring my babies home." And she was urging anybody with any information to get in touch, as well as thanking those who have helped so far. And another post on Sunday, October the 26th, confirmed that Jack was going to be turning 5 years old. Also today. Oh, poor Jack. Oh, so it's Jack's 5th birthday today. Hi, Lilly. I must put a candle up for Jack. I can't see how this child can still be alive. I want him to be alive. I want both of them to be alive. How can they be? They've been missing for 6 months. The only chance of these children being alive is if they have been abducted or taken away by someone who's looking after them. If they are out there in those woods around the property, they cannot possibly be alive, because they cannot have looked after themselves. 2 children of 6 and 4 would not have had the resources for 6 months, not even for a week, 2 weeks, to feed themselves, get water, all those things. These children, unless they have been taken away, they are deceased. It's so very sad. So today is Jack's 5th birthday. How awful. You know, imagine your child's birthday and they're not there. Good God. You know, gosh, these anniversaries are worse than anything, aren't they? And remember, the latest that we heard was about the vehicles supposedly going backwards and forwards on the property. But then the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said no, they could not corroborate those vehicles. They said that police found no evidence of any vehicle activity at that time. As such, no driver has been identified and the presence of a vehicle has not been substantiated as a key element in the investigation. And the witnesses, who were neighbours, had reported hearing a vehicle but hadn't been able to visually confirm it. And the stepfather, Daniel, said he suspects the two children got out of a sliding back door as he and the children's mother were in their bedroom with their 1-year-old daughter. So that's what he thought had happened. He also said he believed Lilly and Jack were kidnapped, but the police have said there's no proof of that either. And he said that the claims that his vehicle might have been heard driving back and forth were nonsense. And all the searches that have gone on so far have not come up with any human remains. And remember, the other day we heard that a missing persons group are going to do a search in November before the winter snows hit. Do one last search, because once the winter sets in, it'd be impossible to search, won't it? So that's where we are. I just wanted to read you that, just so you could, you know, to me, Malaya sounds sort of genuine, you know, and so does Daniel. But you know what? Sometimes that happens. People who do terrible things can appear really genuine, can't they? So I just wanted to tell you that about Jack and Lilly. Right, let me put that window down so that I don't lose track. And what's the, oh no, I just put it down by mistake. Yes, so I think we'll go to Gus Lamont now. Again, just a very brief, just wanted to show you, because it's been a month now, that little Gus, this is in Australia. Little Gus Lamont, only 4 years old. Again, a rural property. 1 minute he was supposedly outside playing in a sand pit. His grandma was looking after his younger sibling in the house, and then suddenly she realised he'd gone. He was playing in a sand pit 1 minute, the next minute he'd gone. This is an even more remote, this is a massive remote property in Australia. Near Adelaide. It's like a sheep shearing station. You couldn't get a property more remote, really, than this one. And no sign of him has been found except one boot print. No clothes, no nothing. Searches have been done. Dogs. Nada, zilch, no sign. Another child just disappeared into thin air. Let's put his picture up now. So again, it's not really an update. Nothing's been found, but just some new theories, etc. Just trying to keep his name out there, keep the story going, because when people stop taking an interest in these cases, I think that's when it's the saddest time of all. Because it's like people have accepted they've gone and there won't ever be any answers. You know, we're hoping for answers. Okay. Let's have a look.
Exactly a month to the day since little Gus Lamont vanished in the state's outback, new theories have emerged about just how far he might have gone.
An expert from Flinders University suggesting he may have ventured well beyond the area that's been extensively searched.
mean, look at this place, my God. All the dust coming up and, you know, so it's hard to search, but it'd be hard for you know, they're saying that he may have travelled further than they've been searching. Maybe. Personally, I don't think he will have gone far. I don't think they're going to find him. I think something's happened to him. He's fallen somewhere that's made his, you know, his little body difficult to find, or there's been animal involvement, or someone's taken him. But it seems difficult to imagine anyone had taken him because, you know, the GMAR, who was in the property at the time, surely would have heard a vehicle or something. How could someone take him without a vehicle, you know, across this terrain? I mean, it's, you know, anyway, so this new theory is that he may have travelled further and maybe they need to extend the search perimeter.
Sun has gone down on 2 large-scale searches for little Gus Lamont, now missing for exactly a month. Police and volunteers have covered a 6-kilometre radius from the homestead near Yunta where he was last seen. But according to some experts, he could have got much further.
Over a 3-day period, potentially somewhere between 3 to 8 kilometres.
He was last seen at 5 p.m. on September 27 by his grandma playing out the front in sand while his mum and other grandparent tended to the sheep. Police have been working on one theory, that he simply wandered off. And with no access to water, food or shelter, it's unlikely he survived.
If the child would be able to access some sort of moisture or dew or moist leaves, then that could increase it somewhat beyond the 3 days.
It's hoped the hat or the Minions shirt Gus was wearing may have been discarded if he was lost, confused and possibly dehydrated. Police are in the final stages of assessing hours worth of drone footage taken at the property using infrared technology to pick up any clues. At this stage, there are no further searches planned, but detectives haven't ruled out returning.
I know that there is still work that is ongoing within South Australian Police. They continue to make inquiries into a few different sources of thinking, but I'm not in a position to comment on it beyond that.
But he may have not gone far at all if he was too scared to move.
I think that fear would be an absolute factor, and that would impact on the ability to move and mobility, but also...
Do you imagine a 4-year-old boy out in this at night? I mean, it'd be bad enough in the day, and then when night falls, he just can't possibly be okay if he is out there, unless something different happened to him, you know. He can't possibly be okay. I'm sorry, but he can't. And again, this case is so similar to the Jack and Lilly case. It's like the only hope is if somebody's taking him away and is looking after him. There's no way this child could survive a month in these conditions. An adult couldn't, you know, and the temperatures, and he'd be terrified, and it's just horrible to think about.
Around finding shelter.
But right now there is no trace and no answers, just mystery. Hannah Ford, 7 News.
All these mysteries, all these children who've disappeared mysteriously. You know, it's very strange, isn't it? I'm just going to look to see if there is any, because of course in Australia now it's night time, isn't it? I'll just check, make sure there's no update. No further update for that. Really, the point we're at is just all the experts, you know, so-called experts saying what they think might have happened to him, but nobody knows, basically. Nobody has a clue. And again, the police don't seem to be suspecting anyone, or not at least that they're releasing publicly that they are suspecting anyone. Complete mystery, just like Jack and Lilly. So, candle for Gus. I can't see that this boy can still be alive. I'd love to think he could be still alive, but how can he be? As I say, unless somebody has taken him. And if somebody's taken him, he may just, there is a chance he might still be alive. Okay, so I'm going to move on now from Gus. As I say, these are only very short updates, if you like, about cases that we've been following. They're not updates in the sense that there's really any news, or not as far as those are concerned. Now, there is some news about another case we've been following. Sorry, I'm just putting windows down. Why have I always got so many windows? And that is the baby Emmanuel case. So baby Emmanuel, this was a hell of a story, wasn't it, if you like? Just unbelievable. Now, let me just find, I've lost the video. So let me just remind you of the story of little baby Emmanuel Haro, who we don't know exactly when he died, unless it comes out when it comes, maybe the police know, I don't know. But right, where do we start with this? So poor little Emmanuel, we didn't know anything about him until suddenly his mum, Rebecca, let's see if I can put a picture of her up. So let me share this, because this is the video we're going to watch. So these are his parents. So baby Emmanuel, his parents, Rebecca and Jake Haro. And there you can see Jake clutching this picture of Emmanuel there. And Emmanuel already looked like he had some problems, because it seems like he'd been exposed to systematic violence from his parents, or certainly from his father. So, but we didn't know anything about it, did we? Until suddenly Rebecca phoned the police and said she'd been attacked by a Mexican man. She parked her car outside like a Centro Comercial in America. This case is in Florida, I think, or somewhere around that way. We'll find out in a minute. And she said, a man said, "Hola." She turned round, he punched her in the face, gave her a black eye. And then when she came round, she went unconscious. And when she came round, the baby had disappeared out of the car, been kidnapped. That's what she said. So that's the first we knew about this case. Then, as time goes on, we find out that the piece of shit father, Jake, he has actually abused another of his children and actually left them brain dead. Let me just change this photo. Take Jake's picture. Take Gus's picture of it. I don't know if I've got a picture up there of Emmanuel. So I'll just leave it with no picture. So yeah, turns out he'd abused another child, left them with permanent brain damage, so they're going to have to be looked after for the rest of their lives. He was given a slap on the wrist and released back to have more children and to go and live with those children. The judge who released this man with a very, very, I don't know if he even served any time in prison, but certainly not much. And boom, what happens next? Emmanuel goes missing. And it turns out he was not kidnapped by a Mexican man at all. Jake Haro, the father, he has now actually pled guilty to killing him. But the little boy's body has still not been recovered. Where is the little boy? He's never going to be found. He's never going to be found, I don't think. They won't want him to be found because of the his bones probably are all broken and God knows what. And Jake won't want that. So Jake will lead them on lots of, wild goose chases, but he won't want little Emmanuel's body to be found, because little Emmanuel's body will tell a story. He's probably got a fractured skull. He's probably got multiple broken bones, and they do show up, don't they? Even when a body's decomposed, the bones still tell a story. So Jake has come clean and said he killed Emmanuel, but not Rebecca. Oh, no, no, no. You know, all she cares about is Jake. She's one of those mothers that cares more about her partner than she cared about her children. You know, she's just as much, maybe she wasn't the one who killed Emmanuel, but she's sort of, she must have known about it, because she's the one that came up with the story about him being kidnapped by a Mexican. So, he wasn't kidnapped by a Mexican. So she knew. And she can't even say that she was scared of Jake, because she's away from Jake now. Jake can't hurt her now. And she's still not telling the truth. So basically, at the end of the day, she's just as much piece of shit as he is, isn't she? And she is still pleading not guilty. So that's what we're going to look at now. Now, what surprised me is when I was watching this article, if you like, or this news blurb, he's going to be sentenced on Monday. Monday, as early as that, because he's already pled guilty. They're going to sentence him on Monday. So let me know in comments what you think the sentence is going to be. So he's pled guilty to second-degree murder of a little baby, and he's already attacked and left brain dead another of his children. What sentence is he going to get? He's got to get life without parole. Surely. Anyway, let's watch this video and see what they've got to say. I'm pretty speechless about this case, really, because, well, it's just so horrible to think parents could do that to their children, but also the fact that he was released before.
California, where the mother of missing baby Emmanuel Haro was back in court. Rebecca Haro is accused of murdering her 7-month-old son and then telling authorities he had been kidnapped. Yeah. Haro's husband, Jake, pled guilty to the murder earlier this month, but Rebecca has not changed her plea. Joining us live in studio now to break it all down is Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson. Thank you, Matt, for being with us. Of course. You've been covering this case. I understand today's hearing was short. Tell us about it.
Very important, Judge Ashley. And the case continued again. Mother of missing baby Emmanuel Haro back in a Southern California courtroom today and asking for her settlement conference to be pushed again, this time to January of next year. Rebecca Haro's last court date was moved after her husband's shocking change of plea right before his settlement conference was set to begin.
Now, she looks like she's lost a little bit of weight, hasn't she? But let's just look at her again there, because they always fascinate me, these people. In the previous court appearances where they appeared together, she just kept looking over at Jake, just like she reminded me of, that horrible couple that's murdered all their children in a fire, Mick Philpott and his wife. Just all she was bothered about was Mick, not bothered about all the children that had just died. And this is how it looked with Rebecca. All she cared about was Jake. And she had a black eye, remember, and it was probably him who gave her that black eye. So, let's just have a look at her.
Pushed again, this time to January of next year. Rebecca Haro's last court date was moved after her husband's shocking change of plea right before his settlement conference was set to begin. Earlier this month, confessed killer Jake Haro pled guilty to murder of 7-month-old baby Emmanuel. Back in August, you remember, both parents were charged with murder, child endangerment, and filing a false police.
I mean, look at this guy. Look at the size of him. He's built like a brick shithouse. In fact, the two of them are, pretty big, aren't they? Tiny little baby. To me, you just think, well, he's got to have a button mushroom, hasn't he? Because does it make him feel like a big man to kill a little baby or to beat a little baby? Maybe he didn't sort of set out to kill him, but he's obviously abused him. How could they? How could he? This great, big, horrible man, and he's big in all senses, isn't he? He's quite tall, he's overweight, he looked like he was limping, then maybe he's got mobility problems, probably because he just sits around eating all day. How could he hurt a little baby? What sort of a person have you got to be to take everything out on a tiny baby, and not for the first time? He's a serial baby abuser. It's just he shouldn't have been around children.
Police report. Well, today, Rebecca Haro agreed to move her settlement conference by 85 days. Take a listen.
Ms. Haro, you have the right to have your preliminary hearing heard within 10 court days concluded within 60 calendar days of your arraignment. You waive those rights and agree instead that your preliminary hearing would be timely if held within 10 court days of January 21st. Ma'am, you're ordered back to this department.
So she's going to, January the 21st. Another 3 months.
January 21st for felony settlement conference.
At this point in time, still no indication if Rebecca Haro, the mother of this baby, is looking for a plea deal. But the settlement conference and now the preliminary hearing have been moved to the end of January.
That's a big deal. I know we'll stay tuned and see what happens. But tell us about Jake entering the guilty plea. What's next for him?
He's back in court on Monday. It's going to be another big day, November 3rd, for his sentencing. Now, on Monday, we can expect those victim impact statements and possibly a statement in elocution from this confessed killer, Jake Haro, before his sentencing. Haro faces 25 years.
Look, he looks quite emotional there. They said he was emotional, but I don't think he's crying for baby Emmanuel, is he? He's crying because he knows he's going to prison probably for life. So this little baby was 7 months old. He was reported missing on August the 14th. But it's not clear when he was last really seen. He could have been dead for a long time. Oh God, it's unbelievable that this man was allowed around children. What repercussions is the judge that released him, gave him just a tap on the wrist when he left another baby of his permanently disabled, brain damaged, blind. That's what he did to his daughter, and then the judge gave him a rap on the knuckles, basically. What's going to happen to that judge? How is that judge going to be reprimanded? That judge has got blood on his hands. I hope he knows that, and I hope little baby Emmanuel haunts him. I really do. Because you know what? If you're a judge or you're in a privileged position. These are jobs that people work hard for, I know. Probably done years of sort of legal training to become a judge. But you're in a privileged position where what you decide about people's lives matters. Life or death. I mean, I've said this before, we've all got our responsibilities in our professional lives. If I make a mistake, I'm a Spanish teacher. If I make a mistake, the worst that can happen is somebody saying the wrong thing out there when they're trying to speak Spanish. You're not talking about people's lives. That judge is just as responsible, in my opinion, as Jake. because Jake did what he did because he was allowed out and free, and not only that, allowed to be around children. So the authorities, they bear a responsibility, and they want those jobs. You don't become a judge like involuntarily. Nobody phones you up and says, right, you're a judge tomorrow. You must apply for it. You must want to be a judge. You wanted to be a judge, gets paid well enough, thriving off other people's misery, but not even making the right decision and protecting victims. Gets me really angry because he'll just carry on. He might be in court today, later, judging on somebody else's life. He should be held accountable for the decisions that he made.
To life behind bars, but it's up to the judge to determine the sentence, since his change of plea was with the court and not the Riverside County District Attorney's Office.
How do you plead to the charge in count 1 of the amended felony complaint of violation of Penal Code Section 187A?
I'm guilty.
Okay. And for clarification for the record, that's going to be in the second degree?
Yes.
Sir, do you admit that you committed a violation of Penal Code Section 187, Subdivision A, a felony, in that on or about August 5th of 2025, through and including August 14th of 2025, in the county of Riverside, state of California, you did willfully and unlawfully murder baby Doe, initials EH, a human being?
I admit.
Audio from that recording from that hearing and a photo of him appearing to cry there in court. Baby Emmanuel's remains have never been found.
Where are his remains? This baby's just been, they think that he's just been thrown out into the rubbish. I mean, that's just as bad as killing him in the first place. Your own baby, just treating them like a tissue or something, just an empty packet of something, it just makes you speechless with rage. Where is that baby? Maybe he doesn't even know where he is now, because if he threw him in the rubbish, he'd be on a landfill somewhere. They'll never find him because he's too little. It's hard enough to find an adult body in a landfill, especially if he's not cooperating. Because whatever Jake says, as I say, I don't think he's ever going to tell the truth about where Emmanuel is, because then the bones will tell a story. The bones, it's hard to dispose of bones. They will be, if they're recovered, they will tell the story of fractures, breakages. His skull is probably fractured, caved in even, maybe. We don't know so although it's good that he's pled guilty and he's going to be sentenced on Monday, so his case is going to be quick. It's her case that will be slow because she's not said that she's guilty. So he'll be sentenced on Monday and we'll be covering that. Don't worry, I'll be on that. We probably will never find out what really happened, because he won't even have to explain. There's part of me, like sometimes I'm glad when people plead guilty and then it saves the family going through a court case and that. But of course, in this case, the family are the perpetrators. Strangers care more about Emmanuel than these parents did. But then you never really get to the bottom of what happened. I keep saying this about Madeline Soto and Stephen Stearns. He pled no contest, which saved a trial, which is good because it meant that all those horrible videos of Madeline didn't have to be shown. And it protected her sort of dignity, if you like. But it feels so empty because Stephen Stearns will never have to say what happened. we'll never know. He's not even pleading guilty, he's pleading no contest. And in that way, he's avoided the death penalty, and he's got life in prison without parole, which is good, of course, but he's avoided the death penalty, and he's also avoided having to tell anybody what actually happened. So it does feel like, a Pyrrhic victory, if you know what, an empty victory. It's like, Madeline is deceased and nobody's bringing her back, but I don't know, there's just something, it must feel good or better for the family, to be able to know exactly what happened. I feel like he's got away with not having to explain what happened. And this will be the same with Jake. If he's pleading guilty, he'll get his sentence, but is he never going to have to explain publicly what piece of shit he is? So that's
not located. On Monday, Haro has the opportunity, Judge Ashley, to give that statement in elocution and just say where the baby is. He's admitted to killing that baby.
And a judge cannot force anyone to say anything, including where the baby is, but here's to hoping he does choose that route.
Exactly.
Matt Johnson, thank you so much as always.
Yeah, so no, but do you know what? I personally, I think he should be told. If he doesn't say where Emmanuel is, he gets the death penalty. Honestly, I that's how strongly I feel about this. Why should he get away with not saying what he did to this baby or where he put this baby's body? So this baby, listen, in some ways it doesn't matter. The baby is with God, in my opinion, in my beliefs. That baby is with God. I hope he's sleeping safely in the arms of Jesus, but one way or another, in that way, I do think he's with God, with the angels and all those things. But just the thought of him not, just cast out like a piece of rubbish, it's just not fair, is it? It's not fair. So, if I had if I had my way, literally, I would say to that piece of shit, you don't say where this body is, you get the death penalty. That's it. There's another case, I don't know if you know about it, of Harmony Montgomery. Very sort of similar case, her father killed her. Her own father killed her. He won't say where she is. It's thought that the reason he won't say where she is he carried her around with him for years in a bag and a bloody this, that, anyway. And in the end, he, sorry, it's quite distressing, but he sort of kept compressing the body till there was nothing left of it. And then he just threw her on threw her in the bin or whatever he ended up doing with her, but there wouldn't have been much left of her to find. Another little one. And he got really angry because something to do, I think she wet herself. She was terrified of him. And, I know somebody who that happened to, that their child was so terrified of their own father when he exploded one day. This little boy just wet himself. So terrified, just wet himself. And that'll be what happened with Harmony Montgomery. He'll have exploded about something. She's wet herself because she was living in a permanent state of terror. And he murdered her, battered her to death with his own hands. And then hid her body, and her body's never been found. So do you know what? They shouldn't be allowed to plea deal. If they don't say where the body is, they should automatically get the death penalty, in my opinion. I've always been, I'm very, I'm very skeptical about the death penalty. I don't believe that anyone has the right to take someone's life. I am pro-life, but there's just sometimes you just think, oh my God, it's like, if anyone deserves the death penalty, is someone like Jake Haro, because also he's done it before. You know, it's not like he did it once and it may, you know, is there any excuse? But you know what? He did it before to one of his children, and then he's done it again. So, you know what, that's it, isn't it? But anyway. So poor little Emmanuel, you know, again, so all these three cases actually are mysteries. Well, with Emmanuel, it's not a mystery. His dad's admitted to what he did, Jake has. She hasn't admitted anything, though. The mother, if you could call her a mother, so we've got to wait till January to see what the next step for her is. But we will find out what Jake's sentencing is as quick as Monday. So, and then, yeah, as far as Jack and Lilly are concerned, there was we talked about the statement from their mum, Malaya, on Facebook, how much she misses them, etc. What has happened to Jack and Lilly? And the same with Gus. What has happened to Gus? I mean, not that there's been any family statements. In the Gus Lamont case, they've kept very private, haven't they? They haven't really come out with anything. So, yeah, three cases that we're looking at, three little updates. I'll keep you posted on all of them and any other case, of course, that we're covering. So, I'm going to go and have lunch. Thank you so much for sharing some time with me. And most of all, thank you so much for caring about these children. Well, they're all children, aren't they? You know, children are vulnerable and they deserve protection. Doesn't feel like they get much, does it? You know, and when their own parents don't care about them, like in the Jake and Rebecca Haro, the baby Emmanuel case, you just think, God, when strangers care about them more than their own parents, you know, that poor little baby never stood a chance, did he? 8 months, short life, was probably abused his whole life, and then came to a violent end by that great big fat piece of SHIT. Oh, dear me, dear me, dear me. Horrible. Just the size of him is like a man mountain. And he got, you know, he's murdered a tiny little baby. God, you know what? I hope he's not safe in prison. That's what I hope. Because, you know, prisoners who do bad things to children don't normally do well in prison, do they? And, you know, I hope he gets gets that sort of treatment. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going. I am off. Make lunch. I will see you really soon, as always, in the next video. Thank you for caring about these children. Thank you for watching. And please remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Thank you.